Hi, Nehme.
Hi, Dean.
Okay, so before we get into, I have some questions for you. Before we get into the questions, what's a fractional CMO?
To me, a fractional CMO is someone that comes in and can be a CEO's ally and really steadies the marketing ship and either uh, implements turnaround plans that are badly needed to an organization or
Right.
really helps direct the strategic roadmap that the CEO originally set out. So, this position is really can be critical in transition periods and also just to right size the company overall.
All right. So let's get into the questions then, and then I'll switch to Damien. Damien. So Nehme, first, um, let's imagine we've got a brand new client engagement. Right, new client. Today's day one. They're new to you. You're new to them. Um, we're just kicking off today. Um, tell the audience a little bit about you, and then tell them about what the first 90 days looks like when a fractional CMO comes on board. What do you try to do? What do you try to accomplish? Things like that.
Sure. Well, my name is Nehme Abouzeid. I've spent the last 20 years in marketing positions on the Las Vegas Strip, many as CMO, and for billion-dollar casino resorts and sports teams and entertainment venues.
Mm-hmm.
And my company, Launch Vegas, um, offers fractional CMO services to companies in hospitality, sports, entertainment. Um, Really, the important thing when I take on a client in the first 90 days is really to just do a marketing audit right away to see if it's really a downpour or a slight trickle in terms of the marketing problems at a company. It's really important to be a CEO's ally, to really gain the ear of the CEO and the trust, and also to put the internal marketing team at ease as well, because sometimes, there's some shining stars within a marketing organization that really haven't gotten their credit. And so some things could be working while others are not. And that's why a marketing audit is really important in the first 90 days to really assess what the company does well. Sometimes it's the branding is off, and sometimes it's more kind of the science of the acquisition marketing is off. So really, you got to do a marketing audit to really see what the problems under the hood are.
All right. Fair enough. Hey, Damien.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you. So same questions, I guess. Let folks know a little bit about you, and then what do the first 90 days look like when you're the fractional CMO? Like from the CMO's point of view, what do the first 90 days look like?
Great. Well, thanks for having me. Name is Damien Gomez. I've been marketing specifically in the cannabis niche for some time now. And when it comes to what the fractional CMO does the first 90 days, what I do might be a little different, only because of the space that I operate in. And, by definition, fractional CMO someone that comes on board has an extensive background, the experience, professionalism to create and kind of strategize the marketing agenda. In this niche, a fractional CMO is kind of someone you go to that needs to move the needle very, very quickly in a very short period of time. What I like to do, honestly, in the first 90 days is really, it depends on the organization that I join. Things like team size, the talent that they currently have, the responsibilities that are being shared, what the vision is, really fully understanding what the company is about in order to prepare the strategy that needs to be executed, who's going to do it, and how it's to be done. More importantly, it's setting the realistic expectations up front with the CEO on what I can actually do with the current team is super important. And sometimes that involves auditing the existing team and suggesting modifications to certain people in different positions. Not everybody, especially in startups, there's a trend where people automatically obtain these C-suite level roles just because they were there first and not necessarily having earned the position through the corporate ladder climb the right way. And so it could be kind of awkward, but identifying areas of improvement in staffing is a pretty important thing.
Then, okay, so let's switch roles then. Not you and me, you and someone else. Let's pretend that you're the client side CEO.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you had to convince somebody, right, board or yourself, that you were going to spend the money for a fractional CMO for like a year, let's say. How are you getting? As CEO, what are you doing or not doing, or what have you changed so that you're going to get maximum value out of that fractional CMO?
I think delivering trust, steady wins, and really strong feedback is something any CEO can benefit from.
Right.
Generally, if you're a fractional CMO, you're probably joining a company that doesn't have like a fully built HR team or department. And so the CEO will probably find himself or herself wearing multiple hats at one time. Bandwidth is an issue almost for anybody in that position. And so, they could even be working a normal 9 to 5 at the same time. And
Right.
so honesty goes a long way. And so just being really honest with the executive, the team, on what you can achieve is super important. And it also safeguards the company from making costly, decisions down the road if you can kind of get ahead of it. So for me, in my experience, value is most demonstrated by actually doing things and not really talking about them. So really getting things up and running and moving the needle. I despise having meetings to have more meetings, and really nothing gets done. I think we find ourselves in that loop over and over again. And so I'm an advocate, and I try to push the value of let's get things done, not get things done perfectly, because chasing perfectionism, that will go on forever, and it becomes very expensive doing that. It's better, in my approach, to move the needle, and in that you build the trust and the relationship that they're looking for.
So I want to turn that question a little bit upside down. Nehme, you've known lots of CEOs, you've done lots of fractionally. How does a CEO waste the money that they spent? How does a company waste the money that they allocated for a fractional CMO? What do they keep doing that they should have stopped doing? Or what do they do? What do they not do that they should have done to get sort of best value out of that CMO?
Well, there's that old saying in Silicon Valley, if you're going to fail, fail quickly. I think a lot of CMOs just keep plotting money into things that just do not work. And I think the important thing with a fractional CMO is for that CMO to come in and really tell the CEO some hard truths and really assess their current marketing plan, and really make those quick, fast adjustments that's needed. And if you have the ear of a CEO and you can tell them those hard truths. I had one client in Las Vegas that literally had first mover advantage in a very lucrative industry, but because they lost the trust of the consumer, when there was a lot of tailwinds that propelled the industry all of a sudden, they weren't in a position to take advantage of all that initial equity they had built as first mover. So there was a lot of business risk at that time. So I told him, the industry is going really well, but your particular brand has eroded the trust with the consumer. And we need to focus our marketing initiatives right now on building that trust back. So we worked on brand quite a bit because acquisition marketing wasn't simply working because they had eroded so much trust. So really what's important is to take those dollars and really be very clear about how you're allocating it, because you could shoot $1 million commercial, you could spend $250,000 on display marketing, you could buy billboards. I mean, you could mine your database. There are so many tactics that a CMO has at their disposal, and you really need someone that can really blend the art of marketing and the science of marketing, and really manage upwardly to the CEO and to the board, and really, frame that narrative of what's working. Because the last thing a board wants or a CEO wants is to come out of a meeting and still don't know which percentage of their marketing dollars working and which percent of their marketing dollars not working. They want clear, objective metrics. And they, if you're gonna recommend a hard truth and to pivot quickly, then you need data to back it up. But once that CMO comes in, they should have a mandate to speak freely to the CEO and literally make those quick adjustments in those first 90 days, because otherwise you're just, a CEO that's pushing paper, or CMO that's pushing paper and then minding the status quo. And that's not really what a fractional CMO is brought in to do most of the time.
Right. Okay. So you're still the CEO at the client side. Okay. Stick with me for one more question.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're looking at the various levels of staffers on your marketing team, however big or small your marketing team is, right? They've probably had supervision, they've had management, but probably no one at the leadership level yet, right? First one. So you're CEO, you're looking at your team in marketing today, you're thinking about what they're going to look like a year from now. What's that team going to look like a year from now?
It really depends on industry and the way, whether they have a centralized, decentralized structure. But, you could recommend a mix of internal and external resources. You could have people, in Las Vegas, we tend to have people on site as much as possible. But nowadays, more people are hybrid and work from anywhere. But really, it's a function of the talent of your team, whether you can buy that expertise elsewhere at a cheaper rate. And whether you can scale appropriately. So it's a mix of probably legacy hires, internal, weed out the poor performers, and then external resources. And those could be boutique agencies, those could be big box agencies, or they could be basically freelancers. But really, I think every industry is different, and every organization has a different structure. But I think, it's best when the buck stops with the CMO in terms of communications and marketing and media acquisition. It's good that all those functions rest under one CMO, and then that CMO has both the responsibility and the authority as CMO to get things done. But I would say whether you're internal or external is less important, as long as you know what is a commodity function and what is something that really offers longer term competitive advantage. When I was at Wynn Resorts, we put a large premium on brand, because Wynn is the premium brand in the casino resort industry. So those functions tend to stay in house because brand equity and brand continuity is so important. But things like digital media buying and other things can often be off-roaded to an agency pretty easily.
And Damien, how about you? How should that team be different or better, say, a year from now, once a fractional CMO has been around for a bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. In most instances, a fractional CMO's time with the company is kind of short-lived. It doesn't go beyond, 3 years at most, I think, in most instances. And so what I like to do is, how that team would change is identifying the talent from within the team, who you can recognize are the ones that, should be leaders, should be transitioning, what type of mentoring they might need to get to that next level. It also, when entering that space, one of the benefits that a fractional CMO provides is, now it's all their fault, right? It's all our fault as a fractional CMO if things don't pan out. And so if you go into a team and they already have opinions on what they feel the marketing direction should be, you kind of interrupt that and say, hey guys, this is the direction, this is how we're all going to work together, and these are the lanes that you need to focus on. So it really helps them identify and work on their particular skill sets, so that as the year progresses, they become better at what they do, right? Because they're not trying to do someone else's job. And also, like we had touched on earlier, when people wear multiple hats within a department, it's common to find people that are doing, display ads, but they're also doing graphic design work at the same time, and they're trying to get email copy out. You really want to, identify that, hey, look, you're good at what you do, but you may not be great at it. This responsibility should probably be offboarded. How do we scale the company? How do we bring in more talent so that everybody can do a great job at what they do?
Right.
And another thing that might happen is where they might have attempted certain strategies prior to you coming on board, but they just didn't have a great rollout, or it wasn't successful. And it might have been because maybe a few tiny things were overlooked, or they didn't implement strategy the right way, or they just didn't have that playbook or the secret sauce to make it pop, right? And so revisiting those strategies and helping them refine ongoing how they approach certain projects and objectives, I feel would be super beneficial to the company, so that when I do exit, they are much better prepared and they have the experience to get things running on their own.
So, Damien, then let's pretend that like you and I end up next to each other on an airplane, and I am the most junior, newest hire person in a marketing team that also has a fractional CMO sort of floating around. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I say, hey, a lot of people want to give me advice on what to do. Do me a favor. Tell me what I should not do. Like, what should I avoid as the most junior person in a marketing team today in 2024?
I would say saying yes to everything. So as you enter, marketing is it's a huge range of responsibilities, roles, and positions. And what you do may not be what you love to do. And I think in marketing, there's plenty of opportunity for individuals to find what they love doing and to do it in a marketing role. Mm-hmm. And so being able to effectively communicate, one of the things I teach the teams I call them the ABCs, which is attitude, behavior, and communication. If you can master these three disciplines, you will naturally become a better leader within your department, and you'll find what's best for you and how to operate. And so what not to do is to just say yes to everything, not communicate that you're not prepared to handle this specific task, or that you really don't know everything you should know about this. Not asking for help, not only is it expensive, but then it's going to get you in trouble, right, potentially down the road, right? So really leverage the experience around you is important, and don't ignore it. Don't be afraid to say that you don't know. Yes, no, and I don't know are all perfectly acceptable answers with my teams.
Nehme, what do you think? How do junior people sort of mess up and set themselves back?
Yeah, I think when they defend the status quo, when they say, we do it this way because this is the way it's always been done, and then really offer no basis or factual support for it. So then, first week on the job, a CMO knows who is resistant to change and who isn't. And the people who are resistant to change, the defense status quo, you might have some challenges with them in that year assignment. So it's important to understand that if those junior people really want to have a career, I tell them, hey, you got to be the CEO of your own career. So you need to really manage whatever function you have. It could be content marketing, digital marketing. It could be buying media. Make sure that you know industry best practices. And then if you deviate from them, you need to know what are the reasons you are. Maybe you're adding a tremendous amount of value because you're really a good practitioner. But I really think for junior people, they need to align themselves with the CMO, because ultimately CMOs marketing is very strict, and the CMO is a hot seat job just by nature. So that junior person might just be waiting things out until the next CMO turns. But if they can really be open and really be a partner with that new CMO and really be open to new ideas and a new strategy, then I think they'll thrive rather than defend the status quo and just say this is the way it's always been done, so this is the way I do it. Because then it seems like you never question as a worker. You want a knowledge worker. You don't want someone that's just pushing paper and stamping things. You want someone that's a thinker and that understand the rationale for why they're doing things. So really, that's really what's most important with junior employees.
Okay, so Nehme, I have like a two-part question for you, so to speak, as we sort of wind down. A lot of people are, across, it's not just CMOs, right? There's fractional CFOs and COOs and CHR and so on, right? There's a lot of fractional executives of all stripes, right? For fractional CMOs, right? If there were, there are more and more every day coming into sort of that, workspace, job space, business space. What advice would you give? This is part one of my question. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out today as a fractional CMO? And you can ask Damien any question you want. That's part two. And then Damien's going to answer the same thing and ask you a question. So just so to recap, right? What advice would you give someone today who's just started off as a fractional CMO? And ask Damien any question you want. Wild card.
Great. Okay. Well, the advice I'd give with the CMO, as much as it's about your resume, you really need to work on your communication skills as well as your skills of persuasion, because you can't just beat people over the head with your resume for an entire year. You need to just establish those bona fides and then influence people and communicate wins. So it's really about leadership and communication, because everybody's going to check those boxes eventually in marketing skills. But you need to be able to, effectively take the hand you're dealt, the budget you're dealt with, and the team you're dealt with, and do something with it. Because ultimately, leadership is about getting things done through other people. You can't do it all yourself. You can't push people out of the way and say, "Oh, I'm good at marketing, so I'm going to do it." You really need to communicate and influence people and really get your goals achieved. So I would really focus on the softer skills: communication, leadership,
right.
And persuasion.
Softer skills and self-marketing, basically, right? All right, and then your audio got a tiny bit crunchy there. So, like towards for Damien, what question for Damien? You've been randomly dropped into. This is literally true, right? You've been randomly paired with another fractional CMO. What would you ask another fractional CMO?
I would ask him, what can you realistically achieve given the company's competitive position, size, and the resources you're given? Rather than pie in the sky, what can you realistically achieve during this engagement that I can hold you accountable for at the end?
Right. Damien, were you able to hear it?
Yeah.
What's realistic and for an engagement with a fractional CMO? Like, not everything can be done, right?
Correct. That goes back to setting the initial standard. Yeah. I think really coming to the table with everybody's full attention at that first meeting, right? Telling the CEO, look, you need to put your phone down for these first 90 minutes with me. Let's close all the doors, all the windows. Let's really talk about what the game plan is here, both short and long term too, to set those goals, because there's in my particular niche, there's lots of acquisitions going on, lots of consolidation. So are you trying to make money, or are you trying to build a brand? Are you trying to get acquired? What are you really trying to do with this company? And then how can I answer that? What do I need to do to execute that long-term vision model? Right.
Right. And then what advice would you give to someone who's like, today's their first week, as fractional CMO? Do this or do
that. That they pick a niche.
Yeah.
Right. Picking a niche. Fractional CMOs, we bring to the table a wealth of knowledge traditionally. And, I've had different clients in different niches, but I really like operating in the one that I'm currently in. And it allows me to be, a leading expert, if you will, if you just focus on that particular niche. And so that would be my number one, is pick a niche that you really enjoy working with.
Right.
Set up strong standards of communication and expectation with the CEO. Be completely transparent and realistic with your clients. Don't fluff anything. because it's really not worth it just to get the dollar. Sometimes
Right.
you want to take on a position or role because the dollar looks attractive, but that shouldn't be a factor.
Right. And then for Nehme, you've been randomly put into a conversation with another fractional CMO. Like, what do you want to ask?
Things I like asking other fractional CMOs is their position on AI. It's disrupted numerous channels within the industry, and the approach to either embracing it or having your team refrain from using it to execute certain things. What the experience has been, and where their position is on leveraging AI for marketing channels.
Nehme, can you hear us?
Yeah. I mean, AI is really important. In fact, right now I'm taking a executive management course in Northwestern called AI Applications for Growth.
Right.
We got about 80 people all over the world in different industries, senior executives taking it. And it's really interesting, and it's really boning up on all the different types of AI and how it's impacting different industries. And industries like mine, hospitality, could be one of the laggards in adopting it at scale versus cloud computing adopting it at scale. So AI is really critical for senior executives across the enterprise to understand and have a viewpoint on. And Damien's question is really apropos because it's things that I'm beefing up my skill set on right now because it's so ever changing, and it's getting a whole lot of attention on Wall Street as well as in mainstream corporate America. So I think AI is going to disrupt every industry. But what it's going to do is really help those repetitive tasks, automate those tasks so that marketers can really focus on those differentiators. And we think better, faster, and cheaper at scale. It's like those lower skill repetitive tasks.
Nehme, it's getting really hard to hear you. I do want to ask though, because it's okay, because we're done, we're winding down. Who should be contacting you or reaching out to you these days, and would you like them to do it? I think we're gonna have to go by what's on screen. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. That got better.
I'm sorry, Dean. But they can go
it just got a lot better. So who should contact you, and how should they do it?
They can go to launchlv.com. They can also go to my LinkedIn. Reach out to me via those channels through email form, and we can get to talk.
All right, sounds good. And then Damien, who should be reaching out to you these days, and how do you want them to do it?
Well, definitely if they're in the cannabis niche, give me a jingle. The best way to do it is through LinkedIn, just because I get bombarded with a gajillion emails a day and all my inboxes every day, like everybody else, I imagine.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn, I like to pay particular attention to. It gives me a chance to do a little bit of research on my own.
Right.
Before I engage in the conversation. So, yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you both so much for being here today. And thanks, Nehme, and thanks, Damien. And thanks for watching. You're probably watching this on a clip if the analytics tell us anything. And so hopefully we were entertaining for the 30 seconds to 3 minutes that you watch this. And that's it for me. See you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Dean.